their own departments of wise academics and scientists, the calls of the Australian people and the international community. So I would ask the House today, when they receive the petition, to acknowledge, accept and act on the science, declare a climate emergency and change the way Australia works in the future. I'd like to thank Zali for helping present this petition and the rest of the crossbenchers for their support. And most of all, thank you to the 404,000 Australians who took the time to have their voices heard. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Noah and Zali, and congratulations on this. This record-breaking petition makes it more likely that Parliament will declare a climate emergency before the end of the year and join the other countries around the world who've done the same. From farmers suffering through record drought to people living in the inner city, everyone in Australia gets that we are in a climate emergency. Parts of Australia have been on fire 2 weeks out of winter. We've seen record drought. Towns are being told that they might have to go without water. The scientists have made it clear that we've got a few short years left to turn things around. If you accept the science, then you must accept that we are in a climate emergency. And in the climate emergency, you don't pour more fuel on the fire, you do everything you can to put the fire out. And I've moved a motion that Zali has seconded in the House, and we've had a vote on that in the House. What is clear is that in the House of Representatives, we're only 3 or 4 votes away from having this Parliament declare a climate emergency. In the Senate, based on a vote that we had a couple of weeks ago, it's even closer. In the Senate, only one Liberal MP needs to vote with their conscience, and the Senate will declare a climate emergency. We are very, very close. And remember that in the United Kingdom, Parliament declared a climate emergency, and that's a Parliament that has got a Conservative majority in that Parliament. The science is clear. This record-breaking petition is going to make it much more likely that Parliament will declare a climate emergency. We're only a few votes away from it, and I really want to congratulate Noah and Zali for asking Parliament to do no more than simply recognise the state of the science.
I'd like to add my voice in congratulations of Noah for his leadership on this petition. It's fantastic that he's stepped forward and brought over 404,000 Australian people with him. We should never underestimate the voices of the people, and a petition is a traditional means of bringing the voices to Parliament, in this case in a modern way with an e-petition, which is now record-breaking. As a rural Australian, as a parliamentarian representing a rural electorate, I know that if we had acted 30 years ago, we would not be facing the emergency that we're facing today. And there's no sector more vulnerable than the agricultural sector. There's no Australians more vulnerable than right now the people in rural and regional Australia who are facing unprecedented drought and whose agricultural enterprises are now at extraordinary risk. So I congratulate Noah, I congratulate Zali for his stewardship of this, and I put it to the Australian Parliament, of which I'm now a member, to get out of your corners, to come together and to act collaboratively and to do something real, effective and scientifically proven to address the climate emergency.
Oh, look, I'll just briefly add that despite all the government's saying, it's not fair dinkum about this terrible drought that's gripping this country. There is no doubt that this drought, the worst in Australia's recorded history, is made worse by the changing climate. Just as there is no doubt that the fact that bushfires are happening earlier, that the bushfire season is getting longer, the fact that bushfires are becoming more intense, is again on account of the changing climate. So if the government is fair dinkum about the drought and about reducing the danger from bushfires in this country, if it does care about the climate more broadly, it'll get behind this push for a climate emergency. There's more than 700 jurisdictions around the world, including conservative countries like the UK, have already acknowledged that we are in a climate emergency and have declared a climate emergency. So if the government is fair dinkum, it would join those other 700 jurisdictions around the world, including those led by very conservative governments, would declare a climate emergency, would commit to put this country on a pathway to zero net carbon emissions, would put this country on a pathway to 100% renewable energy, and we could finally take a leading role in the world when it comes to addressing climate change. So good on Noah, good on Zali. good on the crossbench, but bad work government, you've got some work to do and you need to show you understand what the science is saying and that you respect it.
Thank you. If there's any questions?
Yesterday, the Environment Department wouldn't say whether climate change is changing, whether the climate is changing for the worse. I mean, are they just avoiding the truth?
Unfortunately, I see that as a politicisation of a department that is no longer acting with independence in actually on behalf of the Australian people as a whole, and they're really pursuing a political agenda of supporting government in its rhetoric as to what it's doing. I was extremely disappointed to see those comments. In terms of the science overwhelmingly is pointing to the dire impacts from a health point of view, from an environment point of view, on economies around the world. And so for the department to try and, I don't know, it was hard to describe how you could really interpret. The best I could say was I felt like I was in an episode of Utopia and listening to some well-manufactured spin.
I'd say too that under questioning from...
Sorry, can I just get you to look that way towards the cameras? Thanks.
That, under questioning from the Greens, it became clear the government has actually got no plan to cut pollution. That's why pollution is rising. The best that the government came up with is that they're going to put stickers on fridges and train some people that might or might not result in emissions reducing at some time in the future. It's a hastily cobbled together set of answers that shows that the government has absolutely no plan. Scott Morrison comes in and boasts that every last tonne of emissions reductions is accounted for. Well, the bulk of that comes from stickers on fridges that haven't even been put on yet. It's farcical and the government's been exposed.